Hey, continuing with the Gray Bastards up to chapter 21, all done with chapter 21. So the big power move is made by Jackal, who I'd been pretty convinced up to this point had no idea what he was doing and that things were way more complicated. And yeah, they are. And he fails in his power grab for to be the head of these band of the hoof of orcs, half orcs. Yes, and who is the one who betrays him, who does not vote for him, but Fetch. And why does she not? I don't think it's actually, well, she gives an answer. But yeah, he fails and he confronts Fetch and they wrestle and then they fuck. And she pulls out, well, she pulls away before he can actually think, and then he spurts all over himself, which I was thinking up until the point of like, oh, they've made her character kind of a bit more interesting. She's got her own kind of agency. She's her own reasons. Um, and then they had to ruin it by fucking. It was like, oh, finally they can be hot for each other because there's no longer her balancing to be her balancing to be the to be one of the guys, so she can fuck him now, because that was basically all that she was destined to be, was a prostitute if she had if Oates and Jackal hadn't stood with her. At least that's from Jackal's point of view. So I just found that kind of like, really? I just found that kind of sad as a thing. It's like I would have had a lot more kind of, they had to fuck. They had to fuck, you know? And it had to be kind of a rough, kind of sexy fight fuck too. Yeah. Yeah, I found that pretty cringeworthy. Um, Whereas I think it was supposed to be kind of hot and messy. Um, yeah, I just found it pretty cringeworthy there. Um, and yes, so they have to be out of town basically before sunup. And I was like, oh shit, Hobbs is coming after them. But it turns out that Hobbs is in cahoots with Warburg or whatever, their mentor who had tried to challenge the head guy. I'm Clayface or something, whatever the fuck his name is, the head of the horde. Um, and he was allowed, not Fetch, Jackal was allowed to take the elf girl with her, and apparently the Clay guy had told Hob to, basically murder them both. He was supposed to actually, there's a whole bunch of machinations going on. I don't know if I care about it any at this point. It's written well on a sentence to sentence thing, but there's just a whole bunch of attitudes and kind of decisions that are made on a more kind of conceptual level that I'm just having more and more trouble with. I am going to listen to the end of it just because it's like I've DNF'd too many things lately, and it's listenable. It's quite listenable. The action scenes are good. I keep on telling myself that. Um, the elf girl has probably gone. They gave her a knife, and so she can gratefully runs off into the wilderness to assumably kill herself because she's been raped and impregnated by a troll. Not a troll, a orc. Uh, I don't know. So there's all that. And yeah, now they're going to go ride north to, I think it's the humans, to where the humans are. I think that's where they're going now, where the big human cities are. And I guess we'll get a wider political picture. We're about halfway through the book. It's like, geez, it seems like a fucking long ass book. Like, this is the other thing. It's these fantasy books, which are gigantic, or like, not gigantic, but they're 500 pages when you think, this benefit from being like a tighter 250 pages, sword and sorcery kind of first chapter, and then get next one. The next book would be the next one. But that's not how things go. You gotta make things 500 fucking pages long because it's read by teenagers who have all the time in the world, or other people who have all the time in the world for this kind of bullshit. Grimdark bullshit. Yes, so I will finish this first book. I find it. Well, we'll see. It's mostly it has a great twist ending, and I know for a fact that we don't stay with Jackal as the POV character. We go Jackal, we go Fetch, and then we go Oak with varying opinions. There's definitely a steep drop off between people reading the first book and then having read the second and third book. So there's definitely a lot of people who decided not to go on in the series, which is not surprising, I guess. I think all series have that, but yeah, it's got a pretty steep drop off. At this point, I can see why. All right, yeah, because like I think I was mentioning in my dark episode, this is Theo. Theo. Everybody's on high alert. We're waiting for Janine to come back. Theo, come here. Um, there's hi Theo. Yes, you're a fearsome guard dog, and there is the especially when there was a boom, probably when this was written, in grim dark fantasy. A lot of grim dark fantasy um, had a byword to it, which was male sexual violence. Was how we're going to show that things are grim and dark, and male sexual violence portrayed for the entertainment of, you guessed it, males, which, kind of comes in the thing of like, you're basically getting off on rape fantasy, guys. That's not really cool. Your entertainment, maybe, even though, unfortunately, a lot of that stuff gets suffused throughout our culture. But like, how do you do that stuff responsibly? And I don't know if this is particularly it. I don't know. All right, because there's like depicting it because you want to comment on it, and maybe, this is something that we need to face as a society. But then there's depicting it in a way that's just like cool, kick-ass, half orcs, kind of, you know, with bros and lots of women who are there to sleep with and all that sort of stuff. It's like blah. All right, I will leave it there because I don't have anything much else to say.